Have you ever stopped to think about where narcissists come from? Like, were they just born this way? Or did something happen in childhood that turned them into this person who manipulates, controls, and doesn't feel empathy for anyone? Because here's the thing, nobody's born a narcissist. It's not genetic, it's built. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how that happens. I'm going to reveal the 5 situations that transform a normal child into a narcissistic adult. And look, understanding this isn't about feeling sorry for the narcissist, okay? It's so you can understand that it was never about you. It's so you can look back and see where the poison came from without getting poisoned all over again. Let's dive in. The first situation that creates a narcissist is having parents who are physically present but emotionally absent. You know those parents who never really stop to listen, who don't validate what the child feels, who are always too busy, too tired, too distant. The child cries, but nobody asks why. They share something important, but the parents just give that distracted, They need affection, but they only get the basics: food, clothes, school. But love isn't that. Love is emotional presence. And when that's missing, the child learns a terrible lesson. I don't matter. And that's where the problem starts. Because this child doesn't just accept it passively. They create an emotional survival strategy. They think, if being myself doesn't get attention, I'm going to be so impressive that nobody can ignore me. And that's when the grandiose persona is born. They start seeking external validation constantly. Perfect grades, trophies, compliments, achievements, anything that makes the parents look. But it's never enough. Because what they really want isn't admiration, it's unconditional love. But they never had that. So they learn to live off other people's admiration, and that becomes an addiction. When this child grows up, they can't relate in a genuine way because inside them there's still that child who believes they need to be extraordinary to deserve attention. They don't seek connection, they seek an audience. And anyone who enters their life will be treated as a spectator, not a partner. The second situation is the complete opposite. These are parents who treat the child like they're some superior being. My kid is special. My kid is a genius. My kid is better than everyone else. Sounds like love, right? But it's not. It's projection. These parents put absurd expectations on the child. They want their kid to be everything they couldn't be. The child becomes an extension of the parent's ego, and the love they receive is completely conditional. They're only loved when they perform well, when they deliver results, when they impress. So the child learns that their worth is in what they do, not who they are. So they become an achievement machine, but inside, total emptiness, because nobody ever loved them for their essence, only for the image they project. And here's another cruel detail. The parents never let them fail. Any mistake is treated like a catastrophe. How'd you get a B? You're better than that. So the child learns that imperfection is unacceptable. And when they become an adult, they can't handle criticism because criticism threatens the entire identity they've built. This is the person who explodes when they're contradicted, who can't accept a no, who always needs to be right, because deep down, they still believe that if they're not perfect, they won't be loved. But they were never truly loved. They were just used as their parents' emotional trophy. The third situation is the heaviest. It's when the child suffers emotional or physical abuse or is constantly humiliated. You know that child who's always compared negatively to their siblings, or who constantly hears they're worthless, stupid, a mistake? Or who gets hit, ridiculed, put down? This child lives in a constant state of shame. And shame is one of the most destructive emotions that exists because it attacks the core of their identity. It's not, I did something wrong, it's, I am wrong. And that's devastating. So to survive this, the child's mind creates a powerful psychological defense. They invent a fantasy of superiority. I'm not weak. I'm not inferior. I'm superior. You're the ones who don't get me. You're the ones who don't deserve me. And that's how narcissistic grandiosity is born. This child stops trusting others. They learn that people hurt. So they decide they're going to hurt first. They become an emotional predator as a form of protection. Because vulnerability to them means destruction. They were vulnerable once and they got crushed. Never again. When this person grows up, they treat others with cruelty, not because they're evil by nature, but because they're repeating what they lived through. They project onto others the role their parents had, someone who will humiliate, reject, abandon. So they reject first. They abandon first, because that gives them the illusion of control over the pain. The fourth situation is when the child is forced to take care of their parents emotionally. This is called parentification. It's when parents dump their problems, their sadness, their frustrations on the child's shoulders. Don't leave me, you're all I have, you need to make me happy. The child becomes their parent's therapist. They listen to marital problems. They console the crying mother. They try to keep dad in a good mood. And this is a brutal reversal, because the child should be the one being cared for, but they're the one doing the caring. And they learn that the world revolves around other people's emotional needs. But here's the problem. This child never had a childhood. They were never allowed to be fragile, dependent, imperfect. So when they grow up, they compensate. They become the most selfish person you've ever met. Because now, finally, they want the world to revolve around them. And they have zero empathy, because nobody had empathy for them when they needed it. This is the person who turns relationships into emotional servitude. They expect you to exist only to meet their needs, because that's what they learned. Relationships are about one person serving the other. And now it's their turn to be served. And if you try to have needs, they'll discard you. Because to them, you're functional. You exist to validate, to admire, to support. And when you stop doing that, you lose your usefulness. And narcissists don't keep useless things around. The fifth situation is when the child is spoiled without limits. They never hear no. They get everything they want. They never face consequences. And that seems good, but it's extremely destructive. Because this child grows up believing the world works like this. I want it, I get it. I command, you obey. I'm the center, and everyone exists to please me. And when they become an adult, they can't handle frustration, because frustration to them is something intolerable. They never developed emotional resilience. They never learned to wait, to negotiate, to accept limits. So any no they get in adult life becomes a personal affront. They explode, they manipulate, they throw tantrums. Because in their head, they're entitled to everything. And here's what's interesting. The parents thought they were showing love. But actually, they were creating an emotional tyrant. Because real love includes boundaries. Real love teaches empathy, teaches that the world doesn't revolve around you. But this child never learned that. So when they grow up, they treat everyone like servants. Partners, friends, co-workers, everyone's a subordinate. They don't know how to collaborate, don't know how to share, don't know how to respect. Because they never had to. And now they genuinely believe they deserve everything without giving anything in return. So those are the 5 situations that create a narcissist. And look, understanding this changes everything. Because when you realize the narcissist was built this way, you finally understand it was never about you. You didn't cause their coldness. You weren't not enough. You just crossed paths with someone who was already broken a long time ago. But listen, understanding isn't excusing. Plenty of people went through these same situations and chose to heal, not to hurt. The narcissist had a difficult childhood, yes, but they also choose every single day not to look inward. They'd rather destroy others than face their own pain. And that's why you can't save a narcissist. Because healing requires them to do something they fear most. Be vulnerable. Admit they're broken. And that rarely happens unless they hit absolute rock bottom. So the only thing you can do is protect yourself. Set firm boundaries, and if necessary, walk away completely. Remember this: you're not anyone's therapist. You're not responsible for fixing someone who chose to stay broken. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your peace, to your mental health. And sometimes protecting that means leaving the narcissist alone with the childhood they never had the courage to overcome. If this helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Sending you a hug, and remember, freedom begins when you choose yourself.